thanks for joining us today. My name is Jon, and here we have
Joe.
Or Eyob.
Eyob.
And we're just going to talk about what's a real addict. I've lived 15 years of addicted life. It's pretty obvious what that looks like. I miss family dinners. I come home drunk and intoxicated. You know, the substance abuse addict isn't that hard to see or be seen, because we don't follow through on many promises. We miss family get-togethers. We cause destructive behaviors. Some of us may have even lost our driver's license. We missed birthdays, and we've got in trouble with the law. Whatever that is, the substance abuse really is pretty easy to spot. There's an excessive use, the compulsion, and it gets deeper and deeper and darker as it goes. 15 years into my active addiction, I was at what they may call rock bottom, although I don't really like using that term because my actual rock bottom kept going lower and lower. And I think ultimately my rock bottom's death. And so, but I hit this low of just realizing this disappointment of myself, my life, the hurt that I'm causing to my kids and my wife, just the weight of it. And I just said to myself, it's better not to be here. And I went on a quest to not wake up, but I kept waking up, and I came to this realization: I can't die and I can't live. And it's kind of like I've entered into hell. And I just need to get out of it. So for many of us in substance abuse, the obvious answer where to start is treatment center. Go to the treatment center, and that's what I got to do at a homeless shelter. And they introduced me into what recovery is. The solution definitely is not the treatment center. It's just the doormat into it. But what I've come to realize, especially the onset of COVID, and my background, since I've been sober, we're coming into 18 years. To stay sober, I got to, for me personally, I had to throw away my resume. And that first year was just me realizing that I had to do something different in my life. So for me, throwing away my resume and doing volunteer work and eventually getting into the mental health and addiction services for 10 years. And then the last 8-9 years developing Union City Church, Carlington Booch, Ashes to Rubies, a deeper connection with people in recovery and providing resources for them as well. So what I realized coming out of addiction services for 10 years and working with men predominantly with substance abuse, and then, you know, transitioning in what I do today, I was like, man, I feel like everybody has an addiction one way or the other. And what happened with COVID and the onslaught of isolation and the changes and the things that some of us may have gone for our solution, our ease and comfort, the things that kind of get us through the day, really opened my eyes to who is an addict. Is everybody addicted? And so that's where this conversation comes in with Joe. He has a different addiction. He has some substance abuse background, but that cleaned up pretty quickly when he found God. And he was transformed instantly and miraculously, but then through his journey addressing different addictions. And I think we can do stuff like that with substance abuse, where we drop our substance abuse to cocaine and alcohol, and then some of us pick up a fork or codependency or whatever it is. So that's kind of what this conversation is about, is who is an addict, what is addiction, what kind of forms they take on. And so what I've come to see is the signs of addiction is through relationships with different things, social media, pornography. Some of these are very hidden, and you'd never know that people are compulsively doing these behaviors. And I think some people don't even know that they're doing it, especially when it comes to codependency, and I'll let you speak on that in a second. But some of the signs that I've seen with codependency, people would have difficulty making decisions, procrastination, overpromising, under-delivering, difficulty identifying feelings, difficulty communicating in a relationship, going around in circles kind of, like it's like going in a merry-go-round and not being able to get off. And as soon as you get off and a couple days down the road, everything's great. And then you're back on this crazy cycle again.
Yeah.
There's this compulsivity to relationships and fixing and controlling, which all cause chaos. So this is in codependency. And you ask the question of, why does she still get back with the guy with substance abuse? It's an abusive relationship, whatever the circumstances is. And in COVID, I saw this time and time again because the substance abuse was so prevalent. And some of the people that I worked with, they had partners that, would kick them out, and then they come back and you're like this cycle of just absolute craziness. But it's not craziness, it's addiction. So what is behind it all? Well, what I believe it's behind it is this addiction to adrenaline, this compulsivity to adrenaline, where it has an abnormal reaction inside of the person. And I just want to give you some time to just share your experience on this hidden addiction, because you have a lot of experience in the church world and going through a burnout, and then in the last little bit with COVID. So let's just hear how you would identify and how you came to identify, and then what you've learned from it.
Yeah, I think when it was you who made the suggestion, you didn't necessarily diagnose me as such, but you said, hey, maybe you're struggling with this. And I remember the first time that you mentioned it, I was like, no, that's not my problem. I'm not codependent. But then I think I had an opportunity to kind of look back and see the drugs was pretty easy to identify because it was pretty destructive.
Yeah, it's hard to hide.
It's hard to hide from it. But the codependency, especially in the context of church and leadership, it's incentivized. Meaning, the more codependent I was, the more celebrated I was.
So the more advice you give, the more problems you're in the middle of, the more fixing you're doing.
And I didn't know, and this is strange to say this, but I was actually addicted to drama. So I felt, and it's strange because I would think of myself as being like, oh, I'm always there for people.
Yeah.
But the reason why I was there for people was because if someone called me at 3 a.m. in the morning and said, hey, I'm going through a crisis, a normal person says, you know what, call me in the morning. I have a family, I have kids. Me, I was like, let's go. And I didn't know I was getting that injection of adrenaline that was like excitaholics. And that was meeting this need on the inside that was unmet. So what I was doing, similar to drug addiction, is that instead of drugs, I was using people.
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult thing to understand when you think you're helping people. So you coming up and kind of giving me this paradigm and this perspective, it changed my whole direction in life, because now for the first time, and we've had this conversation, if I don't know what the problem is, then I can't solve the problem. And so understanding the problem that, oh, this thing that I thought was good is actually horrible, not only for me, but also not only in ministries, that was really the cause of my burnout. The relational problems that I was having, obviously I love people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, over promising, can't get to meetings on time. And I was justifying it because I was like, well, I'm doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
But here again, I wasn't doing the Lord's work per se. What I was doing was I was acting God.
And you don't even know. And you're being praised and promoted for it. So then you got that 10 years of experience as a pastor, and then going through burnout, and then you start up a business. And you get into this marketing, and then what came prevalent there, because you never knew you had a problem that existed, whether you know it or not. And then you're going into another world. And so what did you find out with that?
Well, the worst way to destroy a business is have codependent relationships with your clients. So what was happening was I had no boundaries. Okay. And so especially on the, if I'm doing marketing or anything, and I didn't know this, but you become slightly delusional in the sense that you think you can solve every problem. And a good business is that it's very defined. You know exactly what you can't do. You say to said client, hey, we promise to deliver, i.e., let's say Carlton Booch. Your promise is that, hey, we craft this beautiful, healthy drink that does all these amazing things. probiotics and all that stuff, gut health and all that stuff. Imagine, you sold me that and then I bought it and it was flat and tasted gross. Well, in the end, I'd be like, the heck, I'm not coming here. That's a business. Business has to be able to deliver on the promise. Yeah. And what was happening to me was I was making promises that I couldn't deliver on. And what I didn't know, and this is, you and I have had this conversation, my motivation was pure. I wasn't going out there to try to rob people or to hurt people, but I was delusional because I did not understand that what I was doing, again, was I was using business to meet this thing, this spiritual malady that was on the inside. And so, yeah, of course, all the problems then. I can't pay my employees on time. I can't deliver on time. I'm creating scenarios and realities, and I don't know this, but I'm self-sabotaging a lot of times because of all these, these narratives and stories that I'm telling.
And then you're looking for the home run to fix it all
the time.
To pay people back, to deliver, and you just get deeper and deeper into the hole.
Now, because I'm doing this work and I'm helping people in that very area that I was so friggin' crazy at, I can see it now when business people are doing the same thing, because you always think you have the solution. It's the Messiah complex. Instead of coming to a place of humility. So to me, codependency is actually a manifestation of pride.
Busyness, always thinking people are a project and what you can get out of the relationship, focusing on what's wrong with everything and what's not right. And so these are the ways that we kind of get the ball rolling. These are the ways that we get into the addictive cycle and start playing God and have a destructive life. And we get into these patterns and behaviors that seem normal and caring and loving, and you have a great heart, but it's still an addictive cycle. So I think what we've come to realize is that addiction is so wide of a range. It's not just substance abuse. It's not just a guy sticking a needle in his arm that has been on the street for a week or for a couple years. The addiction is so vast in our homes and in our culture and even in the church culture.
Yeah.
What can we do about it? Well, we have a little diagnostic tool called LifeLab Diagnostic. It's on our website, ashesrubies.com. And that's something that you can just enter into. It's 4 10-minute videos, and it just brings you illustratively into what's under the hood of your heart. What are you holding on to? What's holding on to you? Maybe you have a little bit of turbulence in your life. It's no different than your car and your engine light goes on. And you're like, if you don't take care of these things, it could cause serious trouble down the road. So that's really what we wanted to kind of bring to you today is who is the addict? Who is the real addict? It can be very secretive, not so much when the substance abuse guy is there or girl, but the codependent, oh my goodness. There's so many layers to that. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.